Yeah. This is Mount Sinai, and a person should think that Kol Yom V'Yom, that every single day, that there's a voice coming out from Har Sinai and is beckoning us to come and learn Torah. The Torah is something that's alive. It should be with you, nisinosen b'Sinai, like it's being given right now at Mount Sinai. That's the way you should see learning Torah, that it's vital, it's real, it's alive. I want to also welcome Mr. Malamed. So nice to have you. What a simcha. Always wonderful. And we have parents with us learning. There should be a lot of nachas for you. Okay, so, what a day to jump in. We're actually speaking about God's Kabbalistic names. We don't do this every day. You just came in a great time as we are going through different, what's called yichudim, different ways to experience God in a very profound way and also a very down-to-earth way. This has been a build-up over the last couple months together. And now we're on page Tzadi Daled. Tzad, interesting, Tzad, says about Esav, that Esav was Tzayid B'Piv. You know what that means? Anybody know that Esav was Tzayid B'Piv, that he fooled people with his mouth? So I heard a nice joke. I told some of the guys this, so there was somebody by the Dead Sea, and he was fishing. It's already funny, right? He had his fishing rod out, and a guy came by and he said, what's, was epis? Like, what do you think is going on here? He's like, I'm just fishing. I'm fishing. He's like, yeah, I have a family tradition that there's fish here. Really? Interesting. It's like, yeah, it's a secret family tradition. He's like, oh, a secret? Can you tell me? Like, now I'm intrigued. Can you tell me the secret? No, it's not. Thank you. Have a nice day. Tell me. You want to know? $100. $100. So the guy said, fine. Okay, I got to know. $100. Give me the $100. I'll tell you this. Fine, $100. I said, so what's the secret? He's like, you're the 7th fish I caught today. So that's what it means, that Esav is tzayid b'piv. You could fool all sorts of people. So on page Tzad, so be careful. You can also trap things in a good way. You can trap evil. You have to know how to use what's called the trap efficiently. Either a person could trap, an evil man could lay a trap, or a righteous man could lay a trap to trap evil and keep people protected. So I always have to know on either side. So on page Tzad, we're on the point called Yichud and Rakava. We said we were going to go into 2 more Yichudim. Essentially what we're trying to do is realize that the entire world is being created by God at every single second. We say it every day in davening a number of times. Mechadesh v'tuvay v'chol yom tamid ma'aseh bereishis. That you are rejuvenating the world, God, every single second. That's really what's happening. Every second, God is willing us into creation. And how does He do that? What's the mechanism by which He does that? Does anybody know? Through speech. That's why the entire creation story is God speaking. Vayomer, Elokim, Vayomer, Vayomer. Everything is speech. Vayedaber Hashem. Everything is speaking. God is speaking. All of creation, the angels are also created through speech. God is speaking everything into creation through the 22 Hebrew letters. That wasn't a one-time event that one time happened. That's happening every single second. The entire fabric of reality is being spoken into existence. Now you might say that's a very ethereal and esoteric concept. Well, it is, but it's something that is our responsibility to learn about, because that is a constant mitzvah of understanding that God and the world is all one thing. The way that we understand speech from God's perspective is that what is speech? I'm saying the lumdus of speech. What is speech? Yeah.
It's taking something like completely internal, like your thoughts and like intelligence and mind, and making it into real physical matter.
Okay, beautiful. That's also like it says that like davar, a thing, and diber, and a word is the same thing. It means literally the same thing. A word and speech. That's what they said, like abracadabra. You know that one? Abara, I will create kidabara, according to what I say. Right? So yeah, your speech creates reality. It creates existence. Abara, I will create, like bore, I will create. Ke, according to the way you speak. When you speak, you manifest, you create reality. So I want to take it one step further and explain that speech is unique, and that speech, like David taught us, takes something which is inside your brain that only you know, the something that's reserved for you, so to speak, and when you speak it out, it becomes revealed to another. You hear that? How that's so? If we just sat in class and I tried to give you telepathic signaling, and we just sat here in silence for half an hour, so I'm sure there'd be some takeaway from that, but at least on a simple level, that would be, a very big challenge for people to understand what the message was. And we did that every day. And you just showed up every day. And we never said anything to each other. So would that be a bit of a...
We can try.
It'd be very interesting, right?
Yeah.
If we did that every day, all day, for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
So there were certain tzaddikim that can communicate like that. But in our world, we need speech. Speech allows things which are known to you to be revealed to another. So let's take that and apply that to God. What does it mean that God spoke the world and is speaking the world into existence? It means the world, so to speak, is all inside of God's mind. When it means that He speaks, it means that the speech of God, it's not speech like our speech. His is totally spiritual. It means speaking from God's perspective means the revelation of that which is totally inside of God into a creation, into another. You hear that? Isn't that beautiful? That's so deep. Now God's speaking, it's not like some Charlton Heston movie, and the Lord speaking, and there's no speech. It's a conceptual, it's abstract. God speaking means God is revealing that which is inside of Him to a creation. That's how we come into creation, through speech. Okay? And God is constantly doing that through the Hebrew letters. So imagine you could tap into the Hebrew letters. Imagine you could tap into the fabric of how God creates things. So then you're like going all the way back to the very fabric of what it looks like, so to speak, in God Himself. Before these things turn into tables. When the speech, so to speak, is still one with the speaker. Because it says that we think in letters. We think in letters. You might not know that you think in letters. Hebrew letters. And God is, so to speak, thinking in Hebrew letters. So imagine you can go into God's thoughts. And you could see what it looks like before things turn into tables. You could go to the place when the thought of God to speak a creation out is still one with God in His thoughts. Before you see it as blackboards and beautiful paintings and a world like this, you see the way it looks like inside of God still. So it's a very deep connection. And by the way, if you go to that place, you can start using that type of consciousness to also create and manifest things. That's one of the big things with these names we're talking about, is they become conduits and they become like anchors into a relationship with Hashem. So we're going to do a very interesting one today called the Yichud of the Merkava. Okay, just kind of fasten your seatbelts. We're about to go on a Merkava trip. Not the app, the Merkava. The Merkava means a chariot. Yichud Merkava, hu Yichud Yesayid Me'od. It's a very, very fundamental Yichud, which we keep explaining means having a deep bonding with God. The Inyanahu, and what's the idea? Lahakdish es kol chelkei Adam la'avodas Hashem Yisborach. To sanctify every single part of me to you, God. That there's no part of me that's like doing its own thing. Every part of me is dedicated, that's a nice word also, is dedicated to you, Hashem. And that we don't have to be like these chetzi people. Part of me is committed to you, God, and part of me is committed to watching Patty Mahomes just totally stink it up and hope that one day he'll be back to his former glory. But that other part of me is not really, God, leave that part of me alone. That a Yid gets to a place where he gives his entire being. Now, that doesn't mean you can't watch NFL anymore. It just means that you better find a way to make that also for God. It means everything is dedicated to God. Okay? All the parts of you, including all your limbs, including everything, the whole ganze Geschäft, the whole thing is being given to God. V'lahashrei says, Or Hashem yispoach aleim, and to make all the parts of you have God's light dwell upon them. That's called becoming a chariot for God. The chariot is always a concept that there's a rider, and the rider is riding the chariot. The chariot doesn't have a mind of its own. The chariot is only there to take the direction of the rider and to faithfully allow the rider to express himself and do what needs to be done in even a greater glory. Because when somebody just walks onto, if some king just like rolled up to town, we just walked up to town, it wouldn't have as great of a glory. But when he comes with a chariot, there's a greater glory to the rider. And so in a certain way, the fact that we can be God's chariot, this is very deep, means that in some crazy way, we can, so to speak, make God greater. Do you hear that?
How is that?
Because just like the chariot has no will of its own, it's only following the will of the rider, but the fact that the chariot is there serving the rider makes the rider greater. This is what we say, that there's no king without a people. You can't have a king that doesn't have a people. He's not a king. So in a certain way, the fact that the people say, long live the king, makes the king greater. Makes the king greater. This also gets to the question people were asking about, men, women. It says, Eishes chayil ateres bala. A faithful wife is the crown on her husband's head. So who's higher? Who's greater? The crown's higher than the one who's wearing it. The crown is greater. The crown is greater, but it's its own role. It's on the head, the person, but then the crown. So God, we're like, so to speak, God's crown, so to speak. It's a crazy thing. That's the chariot. But you can only do that if you completely give yourself over, and you're not some rebellious chariot. If the rider is trying to steer the chariot and it's, not doing what it's supposed to do, that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. You have to be in charge, i.e., that you give yourself to the will of the rider. This is like, really the job of the Yetzer Hara is supposed to be at the service of the soul. The Yetzer Hara is compared to a stallion. You ever seen a wild stallion? Wild. You seen a wild horse? Like an untamed horse?
Mm-hmm.
Jacksonville, they got some horses down there?
Steering the chariot away.
It's crazy. The horse, this wild thing. So the soul has to come down and whisper, to be a horse whisperer, literally, and calm the stallion down. And then what will the stallion do? It'll take that rider where he needs to go. It'll do great things. That's what it means. Serve Hashem with both your hearts, your good inclination and your bad inclination. Take that steed, steer him in. Get even the Yetzer Hara to be serving the rider. So how do we do that? Watch this. This is wild. Okay? I'm going to go through it kind of fast, just that you get a spark of this. But this is like a body scan of how to turn your body into a chariot for God. If it seems a bit lofty, probably because it is. And don't worry about that. And just put this in your pocket. And like I mentioned, times come up in a person's life where you'll draw upon moments that you never knew why you needed to hear something, and all of a sudden a light will appear for you. So listen carefully. V'tchila yechaven havai b'nikud komatz. In the beginning, you think about God's name, Yud Kei Vav Kei, with a komatz. The komatz is this one. Oh. Okay? You imagine that name. Shub hanikud shel sphere keser. This is the way that the sphere of keser, which is the part like above your head, your skull, which corresponds to your will, your deep, like this will that cannot be extinguished. Like the will to live, like will itself, like people who overcome terminal diseases, because that point says, I will go on. It's like a will that's very deep. Shiberoisha Adam. V'yargish v'yar b'libay, and then start to feel in your heart. Toich kadei boinus ba'oisius, while you're thinking about these letters, es hargashas ha'keser, the feeling of that part, shu rotzen v'mesiris nefesh la'Hashem yizbach. That's also the place that says that a person says, if God says that my life has to be given for Him right now, that's the place that says, I will give my life for you, Hashem. Which is, by the way, one of the things you think about when you say, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. You imagine just giving your life for God. V'liyasa is klila hashros oirei, and I'm making that top part of my head a vessel to receive that godly light of total will. And total, I'm giving myself for you, Hashem. And the lettering of that is Yud Kei Vav Kei with komatzes. Each letter has a komatz, 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 komatz. V'achar kach, and afterwards, Yechaven Havai B'nikat Patach. Then you see Yud Kei Vav Kei with a patach, ah. Again, you don't say any of these letters, you don't say the names. So you have a Yud and then it says ah. 4 patachs.
What's the difference in pronunciation?
You don't pronounce any of them. O and ah. Oh, you guys grew up only saying komatz ah. Okay. In many of the havaras and many of the pronunciations in Klal Yisrael, they're pronounced slightly differently. Even many of the Sfardim pronounce it differently.
Yeah, the Yemenites.
Definitely, the Yemen, beautiful.
Every komat is O?
Oh, or O, yeah. Shehu hanikud shel sfiras hachachma shebamoyach yamin sheba'adam. So now you picture that in the right side of my brain, which is my chachma, I'm seeing Yud Kei Vav Kei with patachs. Literally like buzzing. You could imagine, like you could right now, everybody, just imagine the right side of your brain. You could put your attention there, right? You feeling it? Like I could focus on that part of my brain. So now, at that part of your brain, insert the letters Yud Kei Vav Kei with a patach. You could do that. So if you start doing this a lot, it'll bring a big light into that part of your brain. V'yakanis lahargish bittul, and the corresponding feeling. That part of your brain was created for the feeling of bittul. I'm giving myself to you, God.
Which part? The right?
The right side of the brain. V'achar kach yichaven havai b'nikud serei. I'm having in mind that the left side of my brain is being created through these letters with those vowelization. And what do I think about? Shu sfir sabina, shu b'moyach small shu ba'adam. That place is total excitement. Now that I got a download, that the light came in through Chachma, now there's a tremendous excitement. I just want to bring this light into the world. And Bittul Hayesh means, and if I start to feel like I'm the one doing it, I'm able to move that to the side, because I know, God, it's all you. I'm just a faithful chariot for your light in this world. And it doesn't stop there. You start literally the body scan. You start going through your body. You start seeing these names. Now let's talk about your right arm. Comes chesed. Shashem Hashach Hu Hashem b'nikud segel. Segel is the 3. By the way, if a person, they say, wants to become rich, they should start imagining that name. A Yud Kei Vav Kei with a segel under each one. A Yud with a segel underneath. That name. Because that's the right arm, that's Shevra, that's Bracha, that's the Paiseach Es Yodecha. That, literally, your whole arm is buzzing with Yud Kei Vav Kei and segels underneath. The whole arm is lit up.
Is your right arm related to Chochmah or Bina?
Chochmah, it's on the right side.
What is Segel?
Segel's the 3 dots.
that's on your arm.
That's the arm, the right arm. Okay? Umekayim b'yad yamin ve'inyan avas Hashem. That's the love of Hashem. That my whole arm, which represents me moving and doing and acting, is I want to be a vessel for you, Hashem, of just love, of like Avram Avinu, of helping people and going beyond the letter of the law and just doing and tzedakah. The whole right hand, by the way, is when you give tzedakah, you give with your right hand. Don't give with your left hand. Your right hand is the giving hand. Always give with your right hand. Right hand. You give tzedakah in a little pushka thing, and you like fumble like that. Just get it into the right hand and put it in your right hand. The right hand is tzedakah. Yeah.
What if we're left-handed?
So then, so the left hand is your right hand. Left hand is your right hand.
For everything, even like all the way down.
There's different halachas for different things, but
Does that mean his right brain is left brain?
so in general in this system, we'll have to talk afterwards. There's some detail to it. When it comes to Torah, it's actually very detailed. Right, left. Both, then definitely the right of all people.
What if you're left-handed? Do you say Shema if you're left-handed?
It's a good question. I think with Shema you can still do it the right hand. The right of everybody else. Normal right.
The right to cover your eyes?
Yeah, to cover your eyes. Okay, one more minute. V'acha kasfir sa gevura. Then it comes gevura. Shashem hashayach lezeh Hashem b'nikud shva. That's like this, the two dots, shva. So you see Yud Kei Vav Kei with the two dots, one on top of the other. That's the whole left arm. Umekayim b'yad small. V'nyana yiras Hashem. I want my arm to become like filled with trepidation. This is a chariot for you, God. That my hand would never move towards something that it shouldn't go towards. That it's almost, if you can tune into this enough, your arm will recoil naturally. Again, it'll be like magnetic, opposite poles. Anything that'll be usher, your body will like jump back. That's called a chariot. The body's just acting. So part of you on the love side, you'll just be giving and giving and giving if that's what Hashem wants. And the yira side, you'll literally be recoiling naturally. It's in you. You use these names to activate these parts of your body. And then it's a cholim, which is the dot there. We talked about that was the dvekus. And what's that place? That's the goof. And that's the dvekus. And then after that, Sfiras HaNetzach. Netzach is Hashem Hashem Nikud Chirik. That's the E. That's that one. Their whole right leg is Netzach. Netzach means I will overcome. I will overcome. Nothing can hold me back. Nitzach means I will win. Don't hold back. If something holy has to happen in the world, I will continue to fight for it. Akshanis means what? An action. You will keep going and being stubborn about making sure that things happen and have to happen. And then afterwards there's a hoid. The shame that chanted as kubutz. What's the kubutz? The kubutz is oob and 3 dots going down. Like that. That's the left leg. Kubutz, 3 dots going down. That's the left leg. And that's Hodah la'emes. Hashem, you're the only reality. It's only you, Hashem. That's Hod. And afterwards, Yisoid. And the shame that's shined to that is Nikud Shuruk. That's the U. That's the Vav with the U in the middle. So every letter is a Yud and then a U. The Vav with the U. And you're this kashrus, that's about connection, Hashem, connection. That part of me that should be totally just connected to you and not connected to anything else. Not getting pleasure from anything else in this world. That area where the bris is should only be given to you. And the energy should only be directed towards you and not directed towards all the other stuff that's trying to pull your energy. Yeah, watching Netflix is also trying to pull your energy. I don't want that. I want to direct it all to you, Hashem. Then after it's Sfiras HaMalchus. And the shame that chanted that is Benikud Shem Tzivakos. You'll see in the bottom. That's like the Yud, each one has a different Nakuda. Ve'inyana Kabbalas Ol Malchus Shemaim. And that is the name of I'm receiving Hashem, you're the king. Nothing else. That's also Aleph Down the Yud. You think about that, and that is God, I am accepting upon myself your kingdom. Kach Yases Kol Gufay Merkava Lamidus HaKadosh. You do this, your whole body becomes literally a chariot, becomes invigorated with God's names, which we explain is how He's creating the world and bringing blessing into the world. This is the fabric, the true fabric of things. Somebody told me that somebody bought a Gucci bag on the metaverse for more than a real Gucci bag. It's all fake. Don't believe the fakeness. The real world is this, is Yud K Vav Ks. That's it. That's the real world. And just finishing this piece, and do your best. Lahachtir, lahargish, to feel each part, each of these midas, you will see wondrous things in your life. Give yourself time on a daily basis to think about this. There's nothing more important than the fabric of reality. And whenever you have time, you're walking down the street, think about, my arm, this is, Yud Kei Vav Kei. I could just check some, Tweetabug 472 Instagram, notification, or I could think about this. You guys make the cheshbon. You will connect yourself to a wondrous thing to Hashem. Like we said, work at your level. You've been given that spark. Bezrat Hashem, it will serve you well for the rest of your life. Amen.